Introducing David DeRoche. He's a professor at the National Defense University. He's also a former Pentagon director of Arabian Peninsula Affairs. He joins us now from Washington, D.C. Firstly, your immediate reaction to what we're seeing here in Benyamina in the Haifa district of Israel. We now know that at least 40 people have been injured, some of them critically, that no alarm was sounded, that the intended target may have been a military camp, and that Hezbollah has claimed responsibility. Your first thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen it earlier. The advantage of using drones is that they are very small, they fly very low. They're not detected by systems that are designed for rockets or missiles, such as Iron Dome or Patriot or Arrow. So it's a little bit of a surprise to me that we haven't seen this sort of thing before. It will be interesting to see when we determine the direction of attack. My initial guess is that this probably went out over the sea and attacked from the seafront, just because that was the least defended front that Israel is defending against airborne threats.
Now, according to Israeli media, David, the drone fired a missile towards the site before exploding there. What does that say to you about this particular weapon?
Well, it's not incredibly complicated to do that, but this is certainly something that we haven't seen before, particularly directed against the interior of Israel. So if you are going to fire a weapon, what that means is that you have some sort of active guidance. So that would indicate that there was a communications link between Lebanese Hezbollah and the drone while it's going in there, which would indicate that they've managed to evade Israeli electronic warfare restrictions in the interior of Israel itself.
So how might Hezbollah succeed in deceiving Israeli air defense systems?
Well, the easiest way to do it is by approaching from a direction that is not defended. So people make a mistake. They look at the range of air defense radar, which again are primarily designed to defend against missiles and fast-moving aircraft, and they draw a circle. But your effective range is usually about 120 degrees. So most of Israel's air defenses are presumably oriented towards Hezbollah, towards the east for an attack from Iran or Iran's proxies in Iraq, and then around Gaza, looking towards Gaza. So my suspicion is that this probably flew over the Mediterranean and approached and hit from the Mediterranean, which is less defended and also has more, if you're at a low level, it's kind of harder to pick up because you have wave tops, you have ships, things like that. That's what we saw with the Houthi drone that hit Tel Aviv about a month ago.
So you're suggesting that this drone may have basically flown west out over the Mediterranean Sea and circled back before striking the Haifa district. I mean, what is out there in the Mediterranean Sea? Is there? I thought there was quite a sizable American naval presence there.
There is, but the question is how far out is it? So, and that presence is oriented towards looking at ballistic missiles. They will detect if a threat comes at them. They have the ability to detect slower-moving, low-altitude threats, but it's not very hard to weave in and out amongst normal commercial shipping to keep your flight trajectory. And this is the value of a drone. You can keep your flight path low enough that land-based radar or even ship-based radar would have a hard time noticing it at a distance, and then come in, circle in, attacking from the west towards the east in a relatively undefended sector of Israel's air defense thing. I mean, I'm just guessing here because we don't have the details, but that's certainly how I'd do it.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the past, for example, Israel has done the same thing in attacking Syria. They go out in the ocean and come in.
Yeah, David, I realise it's early days, and all of this is incredibly useful stuff as we try to establish how an attack of this kind happened. I mean, everything you've said seems to suggest that the Israeli military and intelligence may have been looking in the wrong direction, been focusing on high-caliber weapons rather than how nimble Hezbollah's operations had the potential to be.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing, though, is you have to bear in mind, this is a very, very low scale. This is one drone. So if you want to have a real strategic effect, you'd have 120 drones. But obviously, that is easier to detect. So one drone, it's an issue. It will certainly rattle people in Israel. But a true barrage would be in large numbers. The fact that we haven't seen that would seem to indicate that they've realized that this will succeed as sort of a harassment, but not as a large-scale strategic military attack.
All right, David DeRoche, really good to speak to you and get your expert analysis on all of this. Many thanks. Okay.